right, good morning. Hey, I almost forgot to set up my camera. Wow. I got a few things to go over this morning, and I'm gonna try not to go too long again. The short ones seem to be better, but I think I'm gonna be going live tonight with a regular Mr. E on America instead of just the Good Morning. Um, there's a lot of things that I want to talk about and go more in depth with tonight. So let's see, where do I want to start? I think I will. Let me share. Let me first open up this. Go to my screen sharing here, and all right, we'll get on to my here. Just kind of center that in there a little bit. It doesn't need to be that pretty. All right, so let me just jump over to my other screen here so I can control this. All right, so real quick, bomb threat at polling places in New Jersey this morning. The Democrats will stop at nothing. It's crazy. I'm not going to play the video stuff here, but I just wanted y'all to see that this is what's going on. Um, they are trying very, very, very hard not to get any of the Republicans in office. So apparently the police showed up pretty quick and they got things opened back up. So not too much time lost on that. Let's see. All right. Again, the reason that I saved this one here, the whole thing about these death threats, is because it's almost like they have to tell you before they do it. And there's been a lot of like people talking over the past few weeks. Actually, it's been more like months about like these certain people that have death threats on them. First, there's like Stephen Miller, there's Candace Owens, there's Tucker Carlson, and President Trump's always got stuff going on. So it makes me wonder who they're gonna try next. I mean, it's almost like they got to tell you, almost so that like you're conditioned for it or whatever. So I think we can expect that. But this here was kind of the reason that I wanted to come on this morning and talk. All right. So I got to get my thoughts straight in my head. I don't want to get like too philosophical on this, but I've been saying for a long time, and I mean, it really hit me a while ago now, a couple of years ago, how bad we've been lied to. And people wonder, well, how long? They're thinking like it's only been like 5 or 6 decades, and I think it goes even further back than that, even more than the 250 years that the United States has been a country. They pretty much erased history. There is so much evidence out there, and I've talked about this before. So much evidence about um, our history being erased, and they can't erase everything. We've got these big, beautiful cathedrals that we could never build today. All of our Capitol buildings, we have old photographs. Some of them are like litho drawings, hand drawings, but there are photographs, panoramic type photographs with cameras from like Los Angeles when you got these big old world buildings there, and a lot of smaller like homes of that time that are there. And And then you see some of these old photos of like St. Petersburg, Russia, and um, a lot of the other countries, like Hungary, and even like Ukraine, a lot of Bulgaria. These countries, some of the buildings that they have, and they're still there. Scotland, it's crazy. These buildings could never be built today, and I always go back to that because that's like an anchor point for me because we've never built anything like that, at least not in the history of the United States. We haven't. Okay, and you go look and see around that time frame what we were building, and like even get as far ahead as like Abraham Lincoln's time, and he was born in a log cabin. Okay, it looked pretty run down even. So we don't build anything like that. The stuff that we build today is square and just not as appealing to the eye. The artwork and the intricacy isn't there. And then you go look at in Chicago at what Obama's building. That thing that looks like a concrete tomb, to be honest with you. It's ugly and it just doesn't fit. So back to about how we've been lied to about everything and how it continues. Okay. Now, um, General Flynn kind of helped with writing a book on this five G warfare, or what's it called? Like five D warfare, 5 dimensional warfare, or something. But basically it's about the psyops. It's kind of like a psyops 101. And like I was like really on the other side of the fence about him, but right now I'm kind of back on the fence. I'm on the fence about everybody, okay, except for Jesus Christ and Donald Trump. Okay, I still trust that Donald Trump is doing the right thing, but something's going to happen that's going to throw us all off. I think we got a year or so before that happens, but it's funny because they're really pushing the JD Vance running for president thing. They're really pushing that hard, and I think that we're going to be in for a huge surprise. I mean, I even heard yesterday that Erica Kirk would be like vice president or something. I mean, it's like, what is going on here? It's almost like I'm out of my normal dimension and was put into like an alternate universe. It's weird, but so anyway, it's funny. I was thinking about this stuff yesterday, and then last night, Michael Jaco had what's his name? The guy, I think he's from Sweden. But he had this guy on. I'll think of his name. I could probably look it up really quick, but he had this guy on, and he was even talking about like everything's a psyop, always a psyop, because they're lying to us all the time. He went even so far as to say, which I kind of believe, that the whole thing that happened in Pennsylvania with President Trump's getting his ear nicked, that assassination attempt, and even with the whole Charlie Kirk thing being just huge psyop, and that's why people are like digging into it so hard because we've learned so much, okay, and we've woken up so much that their regular psyops that they try to pull won't work on us anymore. Okay, so we're seeing we're actually seeing it, maybe not right like say, oh, that's a psyop, but when we look at the whole thing, we saw like certain videos come out, and that's what was dripped to us. That's what we got to see. But even looking at those videos, something wasn't right about it. Early on, I mean, I've got a pretty good eye. I was in law enforcement, and I was trained to be observant. And even they said, oh, it was Charlie Kirk's mic label for his YouTube or his web. It was a separate video live stream from what he was showing, at where he was. So there was a separate one going. But I watched his mic lapel move across his shirt, and it stopped right where on the well, it's actually going to be on the left side. It stopped exactly where the hole in the neck would be. But I watched that thing go across his chest, frame by frame by frame by frame. I had to go back and look at it because I was like, did I see that right? So I'm looking at that. I'm keeping up with some of the things that Candace is saying. I'm keeping up with what other people are saying in reference to what Candace is saying. I can say this: Candace is very brave right now for doing what she's doing. However, I think she might be a little bit over the top with it, but maybe that is the way she planned to do it because it's actually getting people's attention. People are actually watching and listening to what she has to say. So maybe that's the effect she needed. But back again, psyops, we're being lied to about everything. Um, I think, and just like Michael Jaco said, he said, yeah, he said, we're not being told the truth about everything. He says, but sometimes he says, as much as I hate it, even when he was in the Navy SEALs, and especially when he worked for the CIA, he says, I had to lie about things. I didn't like it, but it was for the greater good. So I think that we are being told some things that aren't true. I mean, let's go back to what brought most of us to this great awakening and started making us think for ourselves. It was all the Q drops. Okay. And even in the Q drops, it said a couple of things. It said that disinformation is necessary. Okay. So disinformation it's still a lie. Okay. It's just a different word, but it's a lie. But it also said that in the post where Q is responding to somebody, he said, not all the posts in here are for you. Okay, there's two ways that I looked at that. We number one, we know that the enemy was in there watching and seeing what was being posted. And then there were other things that were very like critical, looked very military, like coordinates and codes and just weird stuff that most people wouldn't be able to decode that. And even Q said that all these posts weren't all for our consumption. They put them all out there, but they're not all for our consumption. So when they said disinformation is necessary, it's because they know the enemy's watching. Okay, so that holds true for mainstream media, for the news. Okay, most of what you're hearing in the news is disinformation from the enemy's side, but people are asking, well, why didn't Trump change or make an EO rescinding Barack Obama's on the making it legal for news agencies to put propaganda out? It's because we're using their tool against them, and that's even the Bible says, God takes what is bad and uses it for good. Well, I think President Trump is kind of living off that same mantra, where he said, "Well, you know what? I'll take their bad stuff that they've been using against us, and I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to use it for good." So there's so much going on right now. A lot of people are thinking, "Oh, there's nothing going on. There's no arrests." For people that are saying that there aren't any arrests and there aren't things that are happening, they're not watching close enough. I'm sorry. Um, there are, okay. In this case here, they're going from lower and middle. They haven't got to the top yet. What people have to understand: two things. One, it took them many, many, many years, decades, even centuries to get where we are right now. It's not going to get undone in 8 to 10 years. Okay, this is going to be a thing that we have to work on. Number two, they have to have the most rock solid case against these people, the Barack Obamas, the Brennans, the Clintons, and all these people at the top that they're going to take down, most of them have already been. Okay, even Jaco was saying last night, him and Amagard, I think his name was Ole Damagard, I think that's his name. They were saying that these are like when they talk about 1.0s, 2.0s, 3.0s, they said on some of them they're already up to like 4.0. Even President Trump, he's got lots of body doubles. Do you think when they talked about President Trump being well protected, do you think they're going to put the real guy out there? No, they're not. Okay, so the same goes for this. They got to have rock solid cases against these people. Some of them may end up in the courts in Virginia. I think that's where some of that went to. But for a lot of these other people, they've already sat in front of military tribunals and they're gone already. They're gone. So what you're seeing is like a body double, somebody that's told to play the part, and in some cases to the extreme. So that's where we're at. Now, moving on, in other news, Nancy Pelosi, she's still out there with her booze breath puking all over everybody, but she's already announced that she's not going to run again. So after 94 years in politics, she's finally going to be out of politics. Yay. But that's because the person that's playing Nancy Pelosi is not the real Nancy Pelosi, and she wants to go get on with her life, probably. I don't know. But it's pretty crazy. Okay. One of the other things that I wanted to mention is that there is so much infighting within the conservative slash MAGA slash patriot group. So much infighting. I think a lot of it has to do is because, well, two things again. One, some of them were never MAGA, never patriots. They were infiltrators, and they were there. They were in there to do just what they're doing, sowing some discord to get people to have arguments and break apart. Okay. The other thing is that this has been going on 9 years, 8 years, 9. Okay, and maybe longer. I mean, that's the other thing I was thinking about is how far back did this whole operation start? I'll probably talk about that tonight. But the other thing is with trying to figure out how to say this. Well, it's people that just they think this has gone on too long. They didn't expect it to last this long, and they don't have patience anymore. They lost the patience. But what pushed them over the edge were these infiltrators. Okay, and when I spell infiltrators, it's infiltrators with an I. Okay, so anyway, I'm just looking here to see how long I am going here. So we're at almost 20 minutes. I'm not going to go too, like I said, I want to try to do my morning coffees here, short and sweet. And then I'll go live tonight, probably around 8 or 9 o'clock, probably 8. But I wanted to say that, and you might have seen it flash by when I had the share screen up. Last night, the weirdest thing. I mean, I get these epiphanies or whatever. I don't know. They're just weird things that happen. And maybe have you all think about this. So if you do make it on the live tonight and we can have some conversation, I would like to hear your thoughts on this thought that went through my mind last night. The thought that went through my mind was, we are not of this world, but we live in it. That was what went through my mind before I fell asleep last night. It seems somewhat biblical, because even Jesus said, hey, don't live for this world. So anyway, I want everybody, again, be safe, head on a swivel, be aware of your surroundings, situational awareness. Be safe out there. I'll see you all tonight. God bless. Take care.